You just caught Corey with Corey's Spectra Services. This is my YouTube channel. And as always, providing you with interesting information on how to create a better life. And so today what we're going to talk about is emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Basically, it is the awareness of your own emotions and being in control of them and not them of you. So one of the interesting things that happens with most of us, and then I'll get into why is this important and then some strategies to get there, is one of the things is, and stereotypically, and this is not true for everyone, males tend to shut down their emotions, unless it's anger or things like that, right? And so, and even when the anger comes up, it's very much a programmed response, right? Defending their ego or hiding other emotions that they don't want to acknowledge. And very much women can do this too. And all the other emotions are shoved down and it's not acknowledged either. With women, a lot of women are very connected with their emotions, right? They feel sadness, fear, anger, joy, compassion, all of those things, which is awesome. But what can happen though is that there's no acknowledgement of what those emotions are. What does it mean to feel this emotion right now in this moment? And why are we feeling that? Right? And so, because we're not acknowledging that, they're often coming up as programmed responses. And then we literally are robots in that way. We're reacting out of those emotions, that anger, that sadness, all of those kind of things. And so what emotional intelligence does is that we start to see the emotion and it doesn't control you anymore. We acknowledge it's there and it actually becomes bigger, and this where mindfulness is really important for this. And then when we see it, we go, I see you. Where are you coming from? And then we can trace it back to our thoughts and then our belief systems. So I'll draw this out here. So usually lots of times there's an event, right? And that event, whatever it was, maybe we were abused as a child. We end up creating beliefs in order to protect ourselves. So, for example, if you were abused by your father, for example, sometimes one of the beliefs that comes up is men are bad, right? It's understandable. It's not true, but it is an understandable belief that can come out of that, right? So, out of that belief system, can be fear and anger. And there could be other emotions that can come out of that too, right? So those emotions come out when sometimes people are interacting with males, in this case, right? And so then out of that, there is, I missed a part. There's thoughts first. Okay. So this goes down here. Thought is men are bad. Or I don't trust that person. I don't trust. Right? And then this goes into fear or anger. Right? Fearing that they're going to do something or say something that's going to harm you. And then from there, then there's also a physical reaction, our body. When it comes to fear, like anger is like this, or fear is like, right? Whatever, our body actually reacts that way because of the emotion. And then we'll have a behavior that's attached to it. So we may want to attack back or whatever, right? So So there's that action. So what happens is, this part is a really important cue. Okay, so you're angry, and when there's a stimulus, so let's say somebody is, there's, in this, and we'll use this example, my horrible picture there. So this is, okay, so let's say Mr. Man here, and this is you, Mr. Man is saying something, and we're reacting out of that, right? But how much of what the person's saying is a reaction of what they're actually saying versus this past stuff that's going on? In a lot of cases, it is like 80 or 90% this and not the person. They may actually be saying something that's not respectful. Maybe they're a landlord that is being a jerk. Like, who knows? But how much of what they're saying is equivalent to what you're reacting to? And most times, like I said, it's 90% past stuff. So we're bringing that up. And so instead, what we can do is go, stop, breathe, what am I feeling? And ask yourself, where's that feeling coming from? Okay, I know Mr. Man, this human, is saying something nasty to me right now. But I also know that my fear and anger is also related to this event in the past. So by doing that, we're stopping it already. We're saying, oh, this is not really about him. This is about this past thing. Now I can go, how do I want to respond? And already you're stopping it from reaction to being a little bit more proactive, because we've stopped it now. We've stopped it and said, okay, what is the proper response to this person? So instead of reacting, you horrible, ignorant, we may say, you know what, right now you're not being respectful towards me, and I would like, maybe can we talk a little bit later? Or saying, no, this is not okay, and you can say whatever you need to be respectful, okay? Right? And so already we're setting up boundaries and we're stopping the emotions from controlling us. But that emotion, we don't want to eliminate it, as we said, because that still gives us information. Because it tells us that this fear and anger is telling us we still have this belief inside of us. And that tells us we need to do some healing. We need to acknowledge this belief and maybe do some work around the pain of the past and let it go. Because we know, because if this is still there, we're not being really authentic or respectful to other people or responding in a way that's equivalent to what's happening in the moment. So I hope that makes sense. So, and it doesn't mean, so sometimes, like, I'll get into other videos on exactly specific emotions about anger and jealousy and all of these things and what they actually mean. Because each has its own meaning, and it's often, there's a lot of myths around certain emotions. But just for the start, this is a good beginning. And so sometimes maybe with emotions we might want to, acknowledge what's going on, because emotions are chemicals in our that's produced by our brain also. And we need to acknowledge it because they get moved through our body, they send us information, and then if we are not acknowledging it and go, okay, what is this about now? And sit with that and then release it, what happens is that emotion stays in our bodies and it can become toxic. And we know from research right now that about 90% of health concerns are caused by stress, caused by emotions that we aren't dealing with. So sometimes, like, if a trauma is not dealt with, it will be kept into our body because it's chemical, and it can create tumors. It can create other health issues because we're not acknowledging it and letting it go. So this is why it's very important to acknowledge and move through those emotions. And it's not fun because sometimes we're talking about extreme trauma, we're talking about anger, we're talking about fear, we're talking about uncomfortable situations. But they're necessary in order to be a whole person. And and quite frankly, emotions give color to a life. It would be like painting pictures all the time that are black and white. Unless you really like that kind of thing, it kind of gets boring. I like my colors. I like my bright colors. I like, mixture of things. And if we're only getting half the picture, then we're missing something in our lives. And we're also missing information in terms of how to move forward and interact with other people, and how to process and look at ourselves too, right? How do we feel about ourselves, and how do we deal with that? So I'm going to leave it with that. One last thing actually is some strategies. And this is really important. Some strategies how to become more emotional intelligent. So number one, if you were a person that, like me, when I was starting out in my journey, I shoved down my emotions all the time. And that was because I grew up in a family that didn't acknowledge their emotions and didn't want to go there. And it's taken me a long time. And one of the things I did was every day, and this was part of a coaching program I was part of to become a coach, and we had to learn this ourselves, is that every day I would acknowledge and tell everybody several emotions that I was feeling that day. Okay? And the reason for that is the first step is to know what we're feeling. Right? So often we push them down. We don't even know what we're feeling. We don't even know what the name is of those emotions. So once we acknowledge and feel it and the complexity of that, we've got a good start. So the next piece is, mindfulness. Mindfulness and meditation. So because as we talked about, the thoughts create the emotions. And so if we are able to slow down our mind, then our emotions, we can start to pick out which thoughts we want to connect to and which ones we don't. And so those emotions, now we're choosing what we want to feel. And this gets cool because now we're getting into I'm in control of my life kind of stuff, right? And it takes time, it takes practice. But once that starts to happen, you have a tool to create the kind of emotions you want to create in your world. What other things? I have a whole list here of things. One of the other things is journaling. So maybe you're not quite ready to meditate or do mindfulness practice, but journal. Write down what you're feeling, how you're breaking it down, where is this coming from, can really help you to open up and look at yourself and where you want to be. What else? Check in with your body sensation too. I know this can be really scary, especially if you're feeling anxiety or things like that. But once we acknowledge the body sensation, we can start to connect to those emotions too, and we can start analyzing them, breaking them down. So there are a lot more. One of the other things is drinking lots of water, lots of fluids. And that will help clear out the body. Okay? Because sometimes what happens if you're in a constant state of stress, for example, and you're not clearing it out, what can happen, stress can build. right? And if we're not releasing that, and water helps release it, then we're amplifying what's in our body. So we may only have 10% of stress that day, but the last few days, we're still holding on to that, and it just magnifies, and it's no fun. So the more we can use tools like going for walks, drinking for water, those kind of things can help release those kind of emotions. I know folks who are also get massages, and so there can be pockets of emotion in parts of the body, and when people get massages, what can happen is it can release pieces of the emotion. And sometimes I know massage therapists tell me a lot how sometimes people will just start crying and they don't know why, or they'll have memories pop up, and it give them that moment to process and release. So there's many ways to do that. So I hope these strategies and this outline of the importance of emotional intelligence has helped you. Again, if you have any questions at all or concerns, please post them below. Maybe even you tell me, what are your experiences of stepping into your emotional intelligence and how that's helped you. And if you really like videos like this and want to know more or check out more videos, press this subscribe. If you want to check out my website and the work I do, check that out below. Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon.